Hi, this is a video about a brief snapshot of the Higher Education Act of 1965. So, an overview. The Higher Education Act of 1965 is often abbreviated HEA, and considering the time period for which it was established or signed into law, you have to understand that the United States was going through a time of where the Supreme Court outlawed segregated public education facilities. So it was supposed to be equal opportunity for all, so to speak, but obviously it wasn't. So the Higher Education Act of 1965 actually provided more educational resources to support colleges and universities, and it also provided financial assistance to post-secondary students with the intention of increasing higher education access. It was actually part of President Lyndon Johnson's Great Society domestic agenda, which had a goal of eliminating poverty and racial injustice in the United States. So it was officially signed into law on November 8th, 1965 at Texas State University. You might be wondering why Texas State University? Well, that was actually President Lyndon B. Johnson's alma mater, so he felt it was appropriate for him to sign the act into law at his alma mater. So a more detailed description about the Higher Education Act of 1965 is that it provided more educational resources to colleges and universities and financial assistance to post-secondary students. So what this means exactly is that one, it increased federal funding for higher education institutions. Two, it developed scholarship and grant programs specifically for students to help them with paying for college and attending college and having access to college. Third, it provided low interest loans, or Stafford loans as they're known, to students. And fourth, it founded the National Teacher Corps. Now, the goal of the Teacher Corps was to improve elementary and secondary teaching in predominantly low-income areas. What would happen was higher education institutions with the teacher training program would work with these schools that were in low-income areas and actually partner with them in order to train teachers and develop teachers to become more effective, so to speak. So the act also has to be reauthorized every 4 to 6 years. And the benefit of this, or what this causes to happen, is new programs could be added, existing programs could be updated, and specifically funding levels for some of the grants and loans could possibly be increased as well. So this is every 4 to 6 years that this happens. Now, the Higher Education Act, to achieve its goals, actually contained 6 titles. First, there was Title I, which dealt with funding for continuing education programs. Then there was Title II, which was money to enhance library collections. Title III was all about resources for strengthening developing institutions. Title IV was about funding for students, thus increasing their access to higher education. Title V was about provisions for improving the quality of teaching. And then Title VI entailed resources for improving undergraduate instruction. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail about Title IV specifically. So with regard to Title IV, it had a few components, obviously, and one of those components was grants, another was low interest loans, and the third component was work study programs. So these are all actually still in effect today and do exist today. Now, with regard to grants, so one type of grant established through Title IV, one of the components of the Higher Education Act of 1965, would have been Pell Grants. These were need-based grants where students had to fill out their income and how much money they had, and then based on that, they're assigned a Pell Grant. This is a grant that they don't have to pay back. It's literally just given to them, but once again, it is need-based. And every year, a student to this day has to fill out information about their financials using the FAFSA, or Federal Application for Student Aid. Next, Another grant was the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, and this was for extremely low income, needs based people. It still is for those people today. So, once again, it's just another grant opportunity for students, especially those that are direly in financial need. Next are the low interest loans, the first being unsubsidized loans. Unsubsidized loans, the student has to pay interest still on that loan. So they don't get any sort of break other than the fact that it's a low interest loan. A subsidized loan, the government will actually pay all of the interest for the student as long as they're enrolled half time. And not only that, but they'll continue to pay the interest on the loan up to, I believe, 6 months after the student has graduated from college. So the student gets a little bit of a break on the interest there. And then there's the federal Perkins loan, which is for extremely financially in need students. So it's just another loan opportunity available to them. Next would be the work study programs. So work study programs are programs where students pretty much work on campus, and then it gives them time to also complete some homework at the same time. So the most popular type of work study program would obviously be the student workers that we see around our institutions helping out, but also having the opportunity to study and complete schoolwork at the same time. So just to give a brief summary about what all we just covered. So first, the Higher Education Act was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson as part of his Great Society agenda. Remember, the goal of the agenda was to eliminate poverty and racial injustice in the United States. The HEA also increased resources and funding for both students and higher education institutions. So remember the time period, we were still pretty much in a time where segregation was still widely known as a thing. It was actually just eliminated or made illegal for higher education institutions in Brown versus Board of Education. So access and helping institutions grow and develop was extremely important. Next, all those six titles were established. Title IV increased student access to higher education through its scholarship and grant programs, its loans, and its work study programs. And lastly, the Higher Education Act is reauthorized every 4 to 6 years, and this gives the opportunity to add or adapt programs, including the ability to increase the cap for loans and Pell Grants. So that's pretty much a snapshot of the Higher Education Act of 1965. So here are the references in case you want to read up a little bit more about the act. But other than that, thank you for watching.